take words and goes. In the previous session, we talked about using the context, basically within the text, to determine the meaning of words that we might encounter when we're reading, especially up the levels of text complexity, when we're reading and encountering words that we don't know, okay? What I'd like to teach you today is how to look within the word, how to look within the word. Now, I want you to think back to some of the activities that you did when you were in 3rd grade. One of the activities that we used to do is to try to find the base word of a word. What is the base of it? Where we would take off the prefix, we would take off the suffix, we would come up with a basic word, and then we would look and see how did that prefix or that suffix, how did that change the meaning of the word? And then I also want you to think back to the work that we did in 4th grade, and we reviewed in 5th grade and added a few more when we talked about roots. Okay, we talked about Latin roots and Greek roots, and how root words have a certain meaning, and that sometimes they can help us to figure out what a word means. Remember that? Remember we talked about pedestrian? We learned that ped meant foot. A pedestrian is someone who is walking, anybody who is walking. Okay, so today I want to demonstrate that with you with this word. And you have a reference packet in your binder. Could I borrow yours for a second? Thank you. You have your blue reference packet, and what you'll notice, go ahead and flip with me. What you're going to notice about this packet is that there are several charts in here that will help you if you encounter a word and want to use this strategy. First, you have a chart with prefixes and their meanings. So you have the chart, you have a list of prefixes in alphabetical order. The second column gives you the meaning of each of those prefixes, and then finally it gives you a few examples of those prefixes. All right, if you turn the page, on the back side of that, there is a chart with suffixes. And again, the suffixes are listed in alphabetical order. The second column gives you the meaning, and the third column gives you some examples. And then finally, this chart right here, which is actually on 2 pages, because we have so many at this point in 5th grade, are all the root words that we have learned in our skills block. Again, listed in alphabetical order is the root, then the second column is the meaning, and then the third column will give you an example. All right, so let's take this word indestructible. Some of you might already know what this word means, but we want to go ahead and try this strategy. Okay, so remember the first thing we do is we remove prefixes and suffixes so that we can get to a base word or a root word. So what can I remove from this? Give me an example, Kartik. What can I take away from this? In. Okay, and what is the word in?
It means not.
Okay, so it's a prefix because it comes before, because we know pre means before, and it means not. Okay, what's something else we can remove? Allie? Able. What is able?
Can be done.
Okay. And this is a suffix because it comes at the end of the word. Okay? Anything else we can remove? Jillian. D. What is D?
It is reduced down or away from.
Is it a prefix or a suffix? It's a prefix. So say it again. Reduce down.
It is to reduce down or away from.
And what are we left with? What are we left with? D? Struct. And what is that? Might be on the back. to build. Okay? Okay, so we know that if we break this word down into the pieces, all right, removing the prefixes, removing the suffixes, and getting down, and this happens to be a root, not a base word. In this case, we get down to a root word. We know that struct means to build. Okay? We know that if we add a bowl, struct a bowl, it can be built, right? Can be built. All right? And if we think about to reduce down or away from, right? To reduce down or away from, we get falling down or breaking apart, okay? And not. So we look down here at not being able to be built. Okay? Not being able to be built. We also have something that is reducing down or away from. So what can we figure out is the meaning of the word indestructible, Donovan? Can you help him out, Kate?
It cannot be reduced down or destructed.
Okay. It cannot be reduced down or it cannot be taken down, right? So something that's indestructible is pretty what? What can we say it is? Not, and don't use indestructible, yes. Something that's probably strong, right? Something that's probably sturdy, all right? Okay, if we took off this part, what would the word now mean? Yes?
It's able to be destroyed.
Able to be destroyed, right? Okay, all right, so keep in mind that the strategy you learned today is a second way that we can figure out the meaning of unknown words is to break those words apart, removing the prefixes and the suffixes to get down to the root word, and then using what the root word means, okay, and what the prefixes mean in order to determine the meaning of a word that we have not encountered before, okay?
Why is D a prefix if it's not at the front?
It is at the front. It's at the front of the root. So it's before the root word, so it's still considered a prefix, okay? It's still considered a prefix. Any other questions? Okay, so again, like we said in the earlier session, as you are doing your research and as you are doing your reading about your topic, you need to keep your eyes and ears open for unknown words, whether they're academic language or domain-specific language. You need to apply the strategies that you learned. In the earlier session, you learned to use context clues, right? Think about what's going on in the paragraph. What are you envisioning? What's happening? What role does that word play in the sentence? And today you learned to break that word apart into its pieces and analyzing each piece to determine what part it plays in the word and what that would mean, and then to build meaning from there. Okay, question?
So, if there can be two prefixes, can there be two suffixes?
Absolutely. Okay, so you just have to be aware of the fact that you could have those. Use your charts, okay, in order to apply the strategy, and then hopefully you should be able to break it down. Now, what do you think you could do if you applied the first strategy that we learned using context clues, and if you applied the second strategy that we learned today about breaking that word apart? If you are unsuccessful with both of those strategies, what would you do? What would you do? Only 3 people know what they would do. Kevin, what would you do?
Go to your blue sheet and go to you.
Go to me? I don't know if that's a good choice. I might not be there. Evan?
Refer to your blue.
Okay, well, we already referred to our blue packet. Yes.
So look in a dictionary.
Look in a dictionary. Okay? So you're not always going to have a dictionary available to you. Okay? But if you can't use either of these strategies, your last resort would be to go ahead and look at a dictionary. Serenity?
From what I saw, I've seen that so far all the prefixes are in the front
prefix because they come before the root. They're called a suffix because they come after the root or base word. So they'll always be called that based on where they are located in the word. Children,
Is suff a prefix?
that is a really good question. Okay, that's a really good question and one that you might want to do some research on. Okay, so let's just